Oi you, it's time for another episode of Dorothy and the Dealer. Let's tune into the conversation.
What's that song? What was that? Was it The Apprentice? Money, 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 money. What was that? Was that off The Apprentice?
I don't know. I never watched it.
Oh, I loved The Apprentice. It was great. I loved it when Donald Trump was on there with all the actors. It was just awesome.
Was it?
Yeah.
What was the song? Who sang it?
I fucking no idea. It wasn't Donald Trump though.
Good.
I don't think Donald sings. Plays a lot of golf. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, well, we're actually talking about money, so therefore, sing the song again.
I can't. Go on.
What is the song? Money, 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 money. Is that the words of the song?
Yeah.
The total words?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so what we want to talk about now, because oftentimes, I think people have their ways of handling their money, and when we speak to them, we basically tell them that they have to split their money up as soon as they get it, right? Well, mostly as soon as they get it, before they spend any money. It doesn't have to be like the minute that it hits their account, but before they use any of their money or spend any of their money, that has to be assigned and split up into different categories. So we tell people to split up their finances, their income, right? And what we're going to do today is just talk about why that's so important and why, rather than I meet a lot of people still that I don't know how, because I've been using these principles for so long, I feel like I couldn't have gone back, can't go back to having my money all in one account and not, do you know what I mean? It's a lot. So people are still doing that. They put all their money onto a certain account and then they draw down from that account and use it, all from the one spot. One of the things we do is we tell people to split their finances up as soon as it comes into their account or before they spend their money on anything else. And I just want to talk about why that's so important. And I think the first reason is because it means when you assign your finances and you determine what accounts they go into and you split it up, you are eliminating delusion around it's like saying, instead of, because people go out and let's say they go and buy themselves something, a dress or a new toy, or they take themselves out to a movie or something, they're feeling guilty because they're spending money that they perceive supposed to go into a different account. Whereas when you assign correctly, it eliminates the delusion of, well, actually, what have I got to spend? How can I make this work for me?
Well, also, yeah, and what it does is it shows you what part is actually yours. It shows you what you've worked for.
Yeah.
So if you've got a business and you're getting, you do a job and in a day you get paid 10 grand and you think, fuck, I've got 10 grand. People who are primitive around that will run out and blow the money. Not realizing, no, it has to be assigned correctly. So corporations assigned correctly, which eliminates delusion within the corporation. So it gives them targets towards which to grow, where they need to grow, how much, if you're thinking, fuck, I earned 10 grand today, but it's costing you 11 grand to earn the 10 grand. You don't know where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, where it is you got to press harder, where it is you've got to earn more, where you got to be more organized, more detailed, more diligent, more dynamic with your money. And as we say all the time to people who are really, when you treat yourself like a corporation, you get paid like a corporation. So if you stop and you eliminate delusion around your money right from the beginning, because you'll see what you're being paid for your labor. You know what I mean? You start to appreciate what you're being paid for your labor, and it shows you then where it is your gaps are, where your holes are, and where you got to grow. So you've got to be able to make sure you're not delusional just because you earned 10 grand. Like I've dealt with people like who've had $30 million companies, $40 million companies, but in the end they were fucking broke, and they were broke because they were looking at how much money they were turning over, which is the wrong place to look. They were looking at their profit, which is the wrong place to look. It's about getting your money, and on a weekly basis, where every cent goes, and how much you need to be bringing in to cover things, and then it also shows you your value.
Well, that's an important part, because if you don't know how much you need to bring in, you're not putting any pressure on yourself to go do that. You think you've got 10,000, but actually X amount goes to the tax office, X amount goes to mortgage, X amount goes to wages if it's a business or whatever. So you need to make sure you've got it set up, because that way you know exactly what's going out, what you've got to use for yourself or for certain things, and then also how much more you need to bring in order to be making a difference.
And you also got to see that
wealth.
if you can't hand $10,000 a day, how the fuck are you going to handle 20? So it's not going to give you 20 because you can't handle 10.
Yeah.
And you need to know, okay, how much have I actually earned today?
I think that's one of the biggest things that people, especially when I'm helping them with the wealth principles for the first time, they're like, yeah, but I'm spending more than I'm earning. I know. Exactly.
How often do we hear that?
Oh, all the time. And that's the thing, is that they don't want to look at it because they know that that's the outcome that they're going to get.
But yet they're bringing in a quarter of a brick a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy fuck, I'm spending more than I'm earning, but I'm bringing in a $250,000 a year.
And that's the thing, right? So no matter how bad it is, if you look at it, if you see it, if you watch actually what's going on, it's never as bad as it seems. Like it's always manageable. But what people do is they go, no, I just don't want to look at it. I don't want to divvy it up. I don't want to assign it. I just want to be delusional about actually how much I've got. So when you assign it, you have to be realistic. You can't be delusional about how much you've got and how much you've got to spend on anything, right? Because you literally start to see, oh my God, I've got commitments going out so much.
The other thing is then, when people are not looking at that stuff and they get themselves to, let's say they're bringing in a $250,000 a year, what they don't realize is that looking at that stuff and starting to draw out of themselves the attributes that's required to get organization around their money actually builds their self-worth.
Yeah.
And when you build your self-worth, your net worth builds also. And when you build your self-worth, people don't buy your skill, they buy your self-worth. People don't hire your labor skill, they hire your self-worth.
Well, this is one of the other reasons. It was one of the last on the list, but we talk about it now anyway. That it's important to assign your finances, because what you do is you start to value and appreciate yourself, and you start to realize how organised you are, how disciplined you are, and money flows, like we've said before, as Dean Martini's statement. Money flows to where it's organised most, right? So it's like you have to become. You start to see the value that you bring to the table because you're able to manage your money in a certain way. So assigning your finances helps you to bring value to yourself, helps you to appreciate yourself, helps to build your self-worth. Yeah.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, you find out so much about yourself when you start dealing with your money.
Yeah.
You learn so much about who you are and what you're capable of when you start dealing with your money.
By dealing with your money, you mean assigning it, making sure that you're not just handing it over, not actually having any kind of system to it.
Yeah.
Because when you have a system to it and you stick to that system, you start to
because
really
you have to understand as well, as you get older, there's going to come a point in your 60s, your 60, 65, 70, where your kids are going to go, but that you were fucking working offshore and you were earning $180,000 a year. What happened to all that money? What did you do with it all? And the fact that people won't look at that stuff, what they don't realize is that the banks and fraternities bank on the fact that you won't organize your money. Businesses, organizations bank on the fact, their bottom line is banked on the fact that you have not got enough personal intelligence and security to manage your money properly. You know what I mean? And they know that you're doing that because you have certain insecurities that you don't want to feel. Like, people don't want to feel, fuck, I'm 10 years earning a $250,000 a year and I've nothing to show for it. And if I actually go in and look, I'm probably going to leave this earth in more debt than anything else, and I'll pass that debt on to my kids. So they don't want to look at that stuff, but they don't realize that looking at that stuff is actually the most freeing fucking thing that you can do.
It really, really is. It makes such a difference. Okay, so the other reason is that we assign your paycheck and you split it up as soon as you get paid is because you get to choose the priority of where the money goes. So you get to put money into your future vision as opposed to just putting it into short-term satisfaction. You get to assign the priority. You get to decide this is where I want to bring value to my life, bring finances to my life, and you get to be doing that. So it's about prioritizing the long-term vision at the end of the day, and that's an important thing, because when we don't split our money, the money goes into, oftentimes the most is the depreciating assets. It's the bills, it's the mortgage, it's all the stuff that we have to pay anyway, and you still do when you assign your finances. but you're not feeling like you're paying that as a more important step than paying yourself. So when you can pay yourself and you can reward yourself for a job well done, it makes all the difference emotionally as well as anything else.
Well, you can actually see what the reward actually is, what the fruits of your labour actually are. You know, and I know earlier we spoke about there's a portion that goes to the tax department, but you give that portion to the tax department. You're in charge of that money. That it's not. It's because a lot of people think, oh no, that's the tax department's money. No, it's not the tax department's money. It's you paying for your position in society. That is your money and your contribution to roads, security, hospitals, medication. That is what you're fucking doing. But always remember, no one owns your money. You own your money. You earned it, and no one is more important than you when it comes to what you've worked for and what you've earned.
So that means, like, in terms of taxes, just quickly, you can find legitimate ways to reduce your taxes. 100%, and you should. But also,
that's what corporations do. That's what billionaires do. They find legitimate ways to do it.
But having said that, you still need to assign the finances to that area. If you know, you have to make sure that you're prepared for that. Otherwise, the person that's going to suffer is you. It's not anybody else.
I was talking to someone the other day, and a young woman, and she's like, you know, but I'm earning all this cash. And I said, yeah, but you're acting primitively with the cash. Because you're not declaring it. And you think you're going to be able to escape that, but you're not escaping it. You're living the pain of that every single fucking day. The doubt of it, because it's got a limit. There's only so much you can do. You know, you don't realize that how you limit in yourself in terms of your innovation, in terms of being able to grow your business and your organization. It's a very, very, very silly thing to do. Very, very silly thing to do. And the problem is that lots of people do it. Like, I won't hire people that I can pay cash to. I won't fucking hire them because I know I will be the person that suffers from that. Does that make sense? I will be the one that will go, well, I'm the one that's going to suffer from that. And so I won't deal with companies, businesses or corporations that do that because it's crazy.
You kind of touched on the last reason that we split up our and assign our paycheck, split up paycheck. And that is because it means that you actually get to be in control of your finances. And I think that's a super important thing. I think it's like when you don't do that, it's like everything else outside of you, the banks, fraternities, everything out there is determining where your money goes, right? This is about you being able to go, no, this is where I have the final say in where my money goes. Now, that doesn't mean you're not paying all those people. It means that the way it's done is by your determination, by your by what you are in control of. It's not about what anybody else is in control of. It's about what you get to say, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, because I said so. Do you know what I mean? So when that happens, again, you start to feel important. You start to value yourself. You start to see that you come number one. Now, that doesn't mean that the bills companies don't get paid. Of course they get paid. But they have ways and means where you can stretch out payments should you need to, because you've decided to now go, no, I'm going to assign my funds. Instead of putting all of my money into this bill, I'm going to pay it off week by week, and I'm going to set it up so that I don't have any emotion around this, and I'm still paying myself in the meantime. So when you get to take charge like that, it makes such a difference, you know. So the keys here is that assigning your finances eliminates delusion. You put the priority where you choose to put the priority. You get to take control of your finances, and then you start to value yourself. The key, I think, is that step. Is that at the end of the day, you then get to value yourself, because you say, "Look at how well I've done. I'm organised. I'm disciplined. I was able to do this. I was able to put this in here and not touch it." Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And instead of feeling guilty when we're spending our money, we feel inspired when we're spending our money.
Yeah.
And that's including paying the bills.
But the other thing
because
is,
then we get grateful for the bills.
And inspiring ways to earn more money find you.
That's a good point.
You know, when because I mean that was one of the there's many payoffs of organising your finances, but one of the greatest payoffs in my life have been that really. I've always been able to buy well. I've always seen opportunities that were going to pay off well. And I've always had the funds and the money there to be able to seize on those opportunities. And that's because, more inspiring ways find you when you're inspired about how you delegate your money.
100%. Really good.
Awesome
I don't
stuff.
know how I lived without doing that.
Fuck
honestly.
no, I could never. Well, you couldn't go back to it because it would just be chaos.
That's
you know.
exactly what it is. It feels like it's just,
Yeah.
there's no order, no system.
Well,
to it.
I've often thought about it. Could I go back there? And what I couldn't go back to is actually the delusion of, you know, a Friday where I feel like, oh my God, I've got all this money. And Monday, I'm fucking broke.
You got broke.
And
yeah.
I'm trying to borrow into the week
Following week.
to be able to get ahead. And then when you start earning, you know, bigger amounts of money, you got bigger amounts of lives you're starting to live. You got bigger buckets with bigger holes, and it just becomes, you know, I'm so
I
fucking
agree.
grateful.
Me too.
You know, so grateful that I learned how to do that
Me
early.
too.
And I mean, I'm not a bazillionaire, but you know, and in this lifetime, I probably won't be. But the thing is that what I do know is that I go to bed at night and I'm not stressed about money.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not stressed about money.
Yeah, I love it.
Even if you live the most extraordinary life, there is always more to learn. This is why tens of thousands of people are using MJB seminars techniques to hack their consciousness and bridge the gap from where they are to where they actually want to be.
MJB seminars use cutting-edge transformational processes that are science-based and backed to help people break through subconscious barriers and limiting beliefs in order to reset, reboot, and live inspired. If you'd like to know more today, Google search MJB Seminars Bridge the Gap, click on the first link and watch the video.
Now, for simply watching the video, you will also receive a complimentary coaching session with one of our master coaches valued at over $600 to help you get traction in your life today. Remember, live life inspired.